Thunder Bay has a rich history with many known landmarks and facts that we're familiar with. Stephanie Reid, Digital and Travel Media Officer for Tourism Thunder Bay, did some digging through the local archives and found some not so familiar facts about our lakehead. Here are 5 interesting things you may not know about Thunder Bay.
Film and film production has a long history in Thunder Bay. You might be familiar with today's stars like Kevin Durant and Maria Avgeropoulos, or new productions like Sleeping Giant that's off to Cannes. But the history goes back a long way. In 1926, the British government passed an act saying that any film shown in England had to be produced in a Commonwealth country. Well, a local production company with some Hollywood connections made American producers aware of this loophole that would make their films eligible, and many productions moved north to the Twin Cities. Did you know that electronic music was invented in Thunder Bay? Well, that might be a bit of a stretch, but a man named Hugh LeCane invented something called the electronic sackbut, a keyboard that allowed the user to change the tempo, the volume, and the timbre of each note using separate controls. This was the world's first electronic music synthesizer. Now, LeCane was also a pioneer in a genre called musique concrete, which was an entire genre of music made out of manipulation of other sounds. His most famous piece is something called Dripsody, which is made of entirely the sounds of a single drop of water. So you're probably aware that the city of Thunder Bay was born in 1970 of the amalgamation of Port Arthur and Fort William. But did you know that amalgamation was discussed way before that? In 1907, the first year that both cities received their incorporation as cities, amalgamation was first discussed. A Toronto newspaper held a readers' poll asking suggestions for the names. Some names that were suggested: Willport, Lakeport, Grainopolis, even Thunder Bay was on the list. In 1910, a concerned citizen sent a letter to the mayor of Port Arthur saying that they had come up with the best name ever, Portford. Could you imagine if we were called Portforders? So it's almost camping season. Could you imagine heading out without any bug spray in your bag? Well, there was a time when you had no other choice. But in 1906 in Nipigon, a man named William McCurdy invented insect repellent using citronella oil he had imported from Sri Lanka. Now, his son Jack ran a factory in Fort William producing McCurdy's fly repellent for years. Fun little side note, Jack McCurdy was the guide on Prince Edward of Wales, later King Edward VIII's famous fishing trip to the Nipigon River in 1919. So they say that Thunder Bay makes the most professional hockey players per capita. Seems pretty true to me. But did you know that a team from Thunder Bay almost won the Stanley Cup? Well, in 1911, back in the day when they just played one final for the whole thing, the Port Arthur Bearcats played the Ottawa Senators for the Stanley Cup. Well, saying we almost won might be a little much, because we lost 14-4, but we still played in the final.
For more fun facts, information on upcoming events, or if you're just looking for some cool things to do in and around our city, check out visitthunderbay.com. For Go Thunder Bay, I'm Dee Jaraway.